Hello and welcome into Schellenberger Field. It's a conference clash between the Lynchburg Hornets and the Averett Cougars. Joe Brennan and Chris Jennings here on behalf of the Lynchburg Hornets Sports Network. A big-time night here under the lights as Lynchburg celebrates their seniors. 12 players being honored today for Senior Day. We'll step aside for this celebration and let you guys tune in.
We'll begin with our fifth years, one from Phoenix, Maryland, Grant Voigt, and from Windham, New Hampshire, Jake Rust. Grant has spent all 5 years of his time at Lynchburg on the lacrosse team. Throughout his collegiate career, he's totaled 72 points on 48 goals and 24 assists. This season, he has been a member of the starting offensive midfield line and posted a career-high 5 points against Pfeiffer. He has scored at least one goal in 9 of the team's 11 outings this season. His favorite athletic memory at Lynchburg was winning the ODAC championship on his birthday. Upon graduation, Grant will receive his Master's of Business Administration. Today, Grant is joined by his parents, Joyce and Carl, and teammate Jake Rust. During his collegiate tenure, Jake received 2 first-team All-ODAC selections along with 2 All-American honors. He currently sits at 6th in career points and 3rd in career goals for the Hornets. Jake's favorite memory with the team was winning 3 ODAC championships. After receiving his bachelor's degree this spring, Jake will pursue a career in sales. Next, we'll honor a senior from Roswell, Georgia, Connor Moore. After 4 years with the Hornets, Connor will depart this spring with a management degree with a psychology minor. On the field, Connor has played in 40 games with 8 goals and 8 assists. Off the field, he has been an honor roll student in the classroom. Connor's favorite memory with Lynchburg was winning the ODAC championship his freshman year. Following graduation, Connor will pursue a journeyman apprenticeship. Today, Connor is accompanied by his parents, Brandon and Tracy, and his brother, Justin. Now we'd like to honor a senior from Weddington, North Carolina, Andrew Miller. Andrew gave 4 years to the Lynchburg Lacrosse program and will receive a Bachelor of Arts in Business Administration this spring. While with the Hornets, Andrew was a member of the Westover Honors College. His favorite memory with the team was winning the ODAC championship last year on Schellenberger Field. After graduation, Andrew will return home to his home state of Charlotte, North Carolina to work for Wells Fargo. He is joined today by his parents, Margaret and Scott, and his siblings, Kelsey, Nathan, Zach, and Matt. Up next, we will honor a senior from Cornelius, North Carolina, Aiden Olmstead. Aiden will graduate this spring with a degree in financial economics. While at Lynchburg, he was the president of the chess club and recipient of the Leadership Scholarship. His favorite memory with the Hornets was winning the ODAC championship. After graduation, Aiden will complete his CFP and become a financial advisor. He is joined today by his parents, Adam and Leslie, along with his brother, Liam, and sister, Ava. Now we'd like to honor a senior from Pembroke, Massachusetts, Sam Steele. This spring, Sam will graduate from Lynchburg with a Bachelor of Arts in Business Administration. Along with being a 4-year member of the lacrosse team, Sam also helped run the student-managed investment fund. Next year, he will be attending Syracuse University to receive a master's in supply chain management. Sam's favorite memory with the Hornets was making the Elite 8 in 2023. Today, he's accompanied by his parents, Maura and Josh. Now we'll honor a senior from York, Pennsylvania, Connor Harlacker. After 4 years at Lynchburg, Connor will graduate this spring with a degree in exercise physiology. Along with being a critical piece in the Lynchburg defense, Connor is also a valued member in the Student Athlete Advisory Committee as an officer. His favorite memory on the field was winning the ODAC title at home in 2024. Today, Connor is joined by his mother, Jill, father, Steve, and stepmother, Melanie, along with his wife, Stasia. Up now, we honor a senior from Woodstock, Georgia, Cole Zacharias. In addition to being a key player for the Hornets with over 50 games played, he was also an active member in the student-managed investment fund. Cole's favorite memory with Lynchburg was defeating Roanoke all 8 times during his collegiate tenure. After receiving his Bachelor of Arts in Business Administration this spring, Cole will work in commerce real estate as Matthews Real Estate Agent in Atlanta, Georgia. Today he's accompanied by his parents and Doug and his brother Zane. Next, we'll honor a senior from Oakton, Virginia, Thomas D'Souza. Thomas will graduate this spring with a Bachelor of Arts in Business Administration. He spent all 4 years with Lynchburg Lacrosse as a face-off specialist, appearing in 20 games with a face-off win percentage of 60%. His favorite memory with the Hornets was winning the ODAC championship on Schellenberger Field his junior season. Following graduation, Thomas will return to Northern Virginia and working for Clark Construction Group as an engineer. He is joined today by his parents, Lynn and Bill, along with his brothers, Christopher and Matthew. Next, we'd like to honor a senior from Severna Park, Maryland, Charlie Evans. Charlie's favorite memory at Lynchburg was winning at Franklin Field on Easter weekend and winning the ODAC championship on Schellenberger Field last year. After receiving his Bachelor of Arts in Business Administration, Charlie plans to return to his home state of Maryland and work in business. A message from Charlie. I would like to thank all my teammates, coaches, and family for making these 4 years an incredible experience. Today, Charlie is accompanied by his parents, Bob and Heidi, and his sister, Millie. Up now, we honor a senior from King of Prussia, Pennsylvania, Carter Bess. Carter's favorite memory with the Hornets was beating Amherst at Franklin Field in Philadelphia his junior season. Following graduation, Carter plans on teaching health and physical education, as well as coaching high school lacrosse. A message from Carter to his team. I would like to thank Lynchburg Lacrosse for all the great memories and surrounding me with incredible teammates throughout my 4 years. Go Bucks! He's accompanied by his parents Missy and Corey, his sister Maura, and his grandmother. Finally, we'll honor a senior from Salem, Virginia, Alex Blanchard. After 4 years with the Hornets, Alex will receive a degree in criminology upon graduation this spring. In his 33 games played for Lynchburg, his favorite memory was winning 2 ODAC championships. Following graduation, Alex will pursue a career in law enforcement. He's accompanied today by his parents, Shane and Julia. Let's give one more round of applause for our graduating class.
small classes, nationally recognized mentoring and advising, and a community that has your back every step of the way at the University of Lynchburg.
My name is Joshua Carr. I am a senior. I am a theater major as well as a history minor. I live in 5th Street, the historic black neighborhood. The money came in, transfer, scholarship, all that. I appreciate that greatly. I'm smart too. So they gave it like, you smart, here. You know what I'm saying? You come here to do a job. I came here to do a job. A student's job is to get that degree and make something of ourselves. I love the diversity. I love the different interests of people here. I can teach somebody that doesn't know what I know, and that person can teach me something that I don't know that they know. So that's what I love about my school. They respect that and they allow us to showcase and voice our expressions. That's what you get here. You get diversity, you get different people with different knowledge coming together, sharing information and helping each other out. That's what I love. That's why I say people. I love the people here.
My favorite thing about public relations, just building relationships with people and the public from an organization perspective to make sure that you're really understanding each other. You can do a lot with communications, like the people I've talked to. It's a lot of applications, whether or not you're going into nonprofit or like the public sector or private sector. It's just communication is everywhere and it's always important. I really like the teaching here at the University of Lynchburg because I've had a lot of classes that have like practical applications. So, for example, the writing that I've done in my strategic PR class has allowed me to apply to internships with those stuff that I've written about. I applied and got the internship at the Office of Equity and Inclusion for their newsletter that comes out every month.
Now let's meet today's starting lineup.
Be ready for anything, okay?
Come on, let's go together! Together, let's go! Come on! Let's go, keep going!
There is the death flip. Straight? Straight up? Yep. Yeah. Cool.
Head coach of Averett is Brian Haddock. Assistant coaches are Anthony Munoz and Jed Page.
Hello and welcome back into Schellenberger Field. An ODAC clash here between the Hornets and the Cougars of Averett. Joe Brennan joined alongside my good friend and partner Chris Jennings. We should have a fun one on our hands today. Lynchburg celebrating their seniors, coming off a tough loss on the road in overtime to W&L. They certainly are looking for an emphatic victory today.
Yeah, Wednesday was a tough one for the Hornets, but I know that Coach Kudelka will have the boys ready to go as they come back, honor the seniors back on Schellenberger Field.
Well, let's take a look at how these two teams match up by the numbers. You can see a big discrepancy in terms of those goals, both for and against with both of these sides. Lynchburg has had a really dominant start to this season, Chris.
And this is a team that seniors are going to play a big part today as well as the rest of the year.
With that, let's take a look at the starting lineups. First for the Averett Cougars.
Senior from York, Pennsylvania, number 17,
Starting between the pipes is Robbie Eisenhower. And followed by Tegan Casey, Zach Coleman, Giovanni D'Amico, Devin Perry, Matthew Clark, Emmett Wood, Casey Peterson, Corey Havoc, and Braxton Powers. This is a team that has a lot of potential, and Tigran Casey, the guy that really runs that charge, as both a distributor and a goal scorer, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, when you have 18 goals, 15 assists on the year, is someone that's super balanced, and he's going to look to be the quarterback of this offense for the Cougars.
Well said, but he has to go against a stout Hornet defense. Let's take a look at the starters for Lynchburg here tonight. A little bit of a change, really the biggest change we've seen in the Lynchburg starting lineup. so far this season. Andrew Miller stays steady between the pipes. Then Connor Moore gets the nod at the short stick defensive midi. Aiden Olmstead, Sam Steele, Connor Harlacher, Cole Zacharias, Thomas D'Souza, Charlie Evans, Carter Bez, and Alex Blanchard. I'm really excited to see what this starting attack line has to offer for us tonight.
Yes, both Evans and Bez are great shooters, scorers, but they can also facilitate. They're going to look to see how they can involve the midfield today.
Obviously, Lynchburg without their key playmakers in the starting lineup today, especially in that first midfield group with guys like Grant Voigt, Jake Rust, Liam Holman, who have really impressed this season. Also, the attack line has really started to come alive here in the latter parts of the season. Felt like as soon as we hit conference play, guys like Riley Hastings, Finn Schmidt really started to find their stride.
And that is something at the beginning of the year, we knew that what they were capable of. It was just having the confidence to execute what they needed to do.
No Riley Frankel, no Rocco Egan at the starting circle. It's Thomas D'Souza, the senior out of Oakton, Virginia, claiming the face-off win. And how about the Lynchburg sideline today? You got the swim team out there in Speedos with Lynchburg across their chest.
What a great way to start.
They've certainly got the energy going. First shot runs wide, the Cougars take over. Far side of the field, it's Perry feeding it to his keeper. A slow walk up now down the near side. Uncontested is Peterson. Sidearm throw picked off. Here comes Bez and company. And he'll slow things down as that yellow light turns red. Now you get to see this first line of midfielders, or at least the typical first line with Holman and Rust coming into the contest. Holman's someone that's really taken a big leap in his sophomore campaign. Was on the second line of minis last year, and now that he's on that first line, you can see he's just found a new level of confidence.
Yeah, and something right there that was a little bit of a struggle Wednesday night for him is being able to make that quick decision with the ball and feeding it inside. The Washington Lee defenders got it on his hands, but a great feed right there to Blanchard. Blanchard just barely misses that goal.
And that's a really talented W&L defense, really led by the long pole and Jay O'Keefe. They've got such a talented group. And that was one of, if not the best games we've seen all season long. Of course, if you're a Hornet fan, you're not too happy with the outcome, being on the wrong side of it, as Russ has his first shot saved. I mean, if you're Lynchburg, obviously the narrative now is how do you get over the hump in terms of top 10 teams? You know you can run with the big dogs in terms of nationally ranked teams, or, you know, just outside that top 25 with wins like Denison and Roanoke. But 5 losses, all to top 10 teams. And each time you see this team get closer and closer, but yet still not able to get over the hump, and you're not going to have a chance to until the ODAC championship.
Yeah, and this is a Lynchburg team that Coach Kudelka preaches year in and year out. They want to be playing their best ball in May.
Yeah.
It's great to be successful at the beginning of the year in February and everything, but right now they've been challenged to see how they're going to be able to respond. And Washington Lee losing a game in overtime, which, and I was there, and no disrespect to Washington Lee, that was a winnable game for the Hornets. They failed to clear the ball in the third quarter. Their offense got a little stagnant as well against a zone defense, but it is a team that is right there on the doorstep knocking. Who's going to be able to sort of knock the door down and push through and be successful?
Yeah, and in terms of a qualifying bid for an at-large bid, if in a scenario where you don't come away with the ODAC title, a loss like that doesn't necessarily hurt your resume that much when it's on the road in a rivalry game against a top 10 opponent. That isn't something that's going to kill your RPI. And Chris, what's so fascinating is the difference in terms of scheduling and postseason selection with a sport like lacrosse compared to what most people would look at with a sport like football.
Yep. And it's at the beginning of the week, Lynchburg came into the RPI rankings 18th. Washington Lee was 14th. A road loss in overtime is not going to really hurt them, But now what they have to do is take care of business the rest of the way. They may not have the strongest opponents in terms of RPI with Averett, Randolph-Macon remaining, but it is a team that needs to handle business and have a lot of success. Victory margin and taking care of business at home as well as on the road is going to be extremely important.
And when you have, there's our first one of the afternoon. Lynchburg finds the back of the cage via Brody Mason, a sophomore with the first one here today for the Hornets. But as we go on this rampage, we 17 games in the regular season. The biggest difference when you look at it, and if you're not familiar with RPI, here's the breakdown. That's the computer rankings, basically, based on advanced analytics, results, strength of schedule. And when you have a football team with 12 regular season games and you win 12 or 11, and you don't necessarily have that strength of schedule, a lot of the times you're not going to see that team make the tournament. And that's a big argument. But you do see it. We saw it this last fall with a team like Indiana that had only one difficult game on their schedule, and a lot of people were saying they shouldn't make the college football playoff. Whereas you go to Lacrosse, and you have a team that's 12-0 with a cupcake schedule with no difficult opponents, they're not a bid. That is, without a doubt, they will not get in the tournament compared to a team that finishes 10-7 with 7 losses against difficult opponents. The RPI in the sport of lacrosse favors a difficult schedule with losses over an easy schedule with more wins. And that's a lot of the times why you see this strength of schedule from teams like Lynchburg at the beginning of the year in non-conference, where you have a Salisbury, a Denison, a Stevenson, a CNU, you name it. And despite the result, it still gives you a really good chance to end up in the right spot on Selection Sunday.
And I think that's really been driven from back in 2022 when Notre Dame was a top 5 team in the country. Yeah. They were 8-6, got left out of the tournament, and that was a team that a lot of people thought were going to win the national title. They get left out of the tournament, and then Coach Corrigan from there really made the push and was like, all right, we have to take care of business during the regular season. Worst thing to do as a lacrosse team is leave it up to the selection committee. That is the great part about conferences is there are automatic qualifiers. That is what this Lynchburg team is talking about is don't leave it up to chance. Force the hand and say, hey, you have to put me in the tournament because we're the AQ for the ODAC.
What a performance it's been for the Averett Cougar keeper thus far. He's been pelted with shots here in the early goings. Nevertheless, Eisenhower's done a great job of being a brick wall. Now we get to see if Averett can get it across midfield. Still yet to get it into Lynchburg territory today. And there you have it. Out and running, it's Zach Coleman. Coleman gets it into the box, and now the Cougars will play it from GLE. Ball with Connor Boyd. Good movement here from the Cougars. Patient offense.
And Joe, something to really look at today is that Coach Kudelka is not going to let up. These may not be the traditional starters like a Riley Hastings or Parker Seeley, but he's going to coach these quote-unquote second group of guys just as hard, if not harder, because he knows that this game matters. Even though you look at the record books, you're going to probably lean towards Lynchburg, and it may be a wider margin than expected, but they need this win.
String music from Rubley. Finds the top left corner. I'm expecting a big day from him. And this is really what you get. Not only is this game an opportunity to really develop a handful of guys, but also gives you a chance to take a look a little bit more closely at what these guys deeper into the depth chart can give you. And if someone surprises you and stands out, I mean, there's a great chance they work themselves into the active rotation.
Yes, and it's always great to really watch and evaluate guys at practice. They have the film on these guys, but when you put on that Lynchburg jersey and you suit up against someone else, there's a little bit more expectation of what do they have in store? What can they do when it's not their best friend or their roommate that they go against every single day in practice? It's someone wearing a different colored jersey and see how are they going to respond to this part.
So far, it's Rubley and Mason with the first 2 goals of the afternoon for the Hornets. Now Haley, a nice dodge, gets his right hand free. The dish, saved. What a stop. Once again, a beautiful performance from Eisenhower. And just like that, Lynchburg with a counterattack. Once again, it's the man, Will Rubley.
And Rubley's really someone that I know the coaching staff has a lot of praise for. And right now, the first 12 games of the year, he probably hasn't gotten as much playing time as maybe he would like or expected, but it doesn't stop him from, I see him down in Wake every day, working his tail off and being the best version of himself. And something that Coach Kudelka really is happy about is that he's forcing guys like Jake Russ, Grant Voigt, Liam Holman, Brody Mason, all of these guys to really put in the work so that way they know he's chomping at the bit, and it's a rising tide lifts all ships type of mentality out of Rubley.
And I think that's exactly what you're starting to see. A guy in his first 3 appearances of this season didn't record a point, has had one in his last 4 appearances, had an assist against Valdez, a goal and a dime against Hampton-Sydney, then a goal against St. Mary's, and in his most recent game, 2 goals and an assist against Guilford, here matching his season high, and we're only halfway through the first quarter. And that's what today's going to give you. It's going to give you guys getting looks that they haven't gotten all year. Evans, just over the top pipe.
And I think something that, yes, it is senior day, great day to celebrate the seniors that have really put in a lot of framework into this program, but there's a nice mix of upperclassmen but also freshmen that are going to get a chance today to show what they have.
Another stop by Eisenhower. Now the clear from the Cougars. On the near side, Evans with a contest. They only got 2 seconds. That's going to be a turnover. Great ride from Lynchburg. Now you've got an Averett squad that comes into today 1-5 in ODAC play, 4-9 overall. That sole ODAC win coming on the road against Randolph in a 14-12 victory. Brody Mason tabs his second goal of the afternoon. 2 for 2. Mason, 2 shots, 2 goals. And a similar statement to be said about Will Rubley.
And that was a great job by Henchy getting to his top side and then finding Mason on the inside, knowing that the defender's he's going to draw that defender and sort of leave him open so that way Mason can score right there.
And this is an Averett team that's trying to get the wheels going in the right direction. They come into this game in the penultimate spot in the ODAC standings in terms of margin of victory. Under 9.5 this season. The only team beneath them is their sole ODAC win of the season in Randolph, being outscored by 13 a game. Granted, they did get outscored 31-0 in one game, so that did inflate it just a little bit against W&L. But, I mean, they come in this year with 88 goals for, 212 against. It's a program that's really trying to find its footing and brand new to the conference.
Yeah, and this was a team that I never was able to go up against during my playing time here at Lynchburg, but knowing that this is a team that is going to continue to get better and better as time goes on. They're into a better lacrosse conference. I think we can all agree on that.
Yeah.
And that is something that they're going to, as a coaching staff, they're going to look and say, all right, how can we get better? How can we compete with that middle tier, such as the Shenandoahs, the Bridgewaters, challenge them, and then after they challenge them, they continue to make their mark up the conference.
And I think Bridgewater is an excellent example that you bring up. That's a team that, you know, is unfortunately not necessarily in that mix of what we like to call the ODAC Blue Bloods, with your Hampton-Sydney, your Roanoke, your – who am I missing?
Macon,
thank you.
WNL.
That's who I was missing. But Macon, a team that's recently been on the rise. They've really made a name for themselves in the last half-decade. But a Bridgewater squad that's really just outside that top 5 and starting to make a push up towards there. And, of course, Shenandoah as well, as you mentioned. But, it takes time to get from the bottom floor to the second floor or wherever you might have them. But it's a developing squad, and you can see that just by the roster. I mean, this is a Lynchburg team that has over 50 guys on the active roster, where you've got an Averett team today that's got less than a dozen guys on the sideline.
Yeah, and I think that is something that when you look at this Lynchburg program in Coach Kudelka's first couple years, he always talked about when he came into the conference, he knew that Sydney, Roanoke, WNL were those top 3 teams. He said, how do I get up there? I'm not just going to get there overnight. He goes, first thing I need to do is start knocking off the team that's right above them. And as time goes on, you start to knock off, if you're this Averett program, you start to knock off the Shenandoahs, the Bridgewaters, the Randolph-Macon, and then you continue to climb that ladder so that way you can start to compete with the Blue Bloods, as we call them, WNL, Roanoke, Hampton-Sydney, and it just continues. That is how you elevate the program. It's not just overnight you're going to take on and say, all right, season 1, we're in the ODAC, we're going to go out and try to beat Washington and Lee and Roanoke and Lynchburg, who are all top 20 programs.
And this has been a big-time freshman class that has made a huge impact this year for the Cougars. And we've seen that so far today with Eisenhower between the pipes, the 6'1", 225-pound keeper out of Clayton, North Carolina, a product out of Corinth Holders High School, has really been excellent, not just today, but all season long, right towards the middle top pack of save percentage this season in the conference. They sit at 6th with a save percentage of .512. Anytime you can have a freshman keeper that's got a save percentage over 50, you got to feel pretty good about it.
Especially with the shots that he's facing. It's not like he's sitting in there only taking 8 shots a game where, hey, you just make 4 saves.
Yeah.
He's getting dozens of shots at him.
Well, he'll certainly have plenty of work tonight. 3 minutes remaining in the first quarter of action when we come back on LHSN.
My name is Davion Washington Jr. I have the honor of serving as the student body president. I have 5 little siblings. I'm the oldest of 6 siblings, and they look up to me. I'm setting the tone. I get to develop myself, make myself a better individual, but also I'm helping future generations, not even my family, but just future generations in general. I found my passion here. I found, the love for what I want to do. I just really had an amazing time here. It's changed, my outlook on life. You don't have to be famous to change lives. You don't have to be on the big screen or whatever. I change lives now, and I hope to continue to do that. Just same way that the University of Lynchburg has changed my life for the better.
Welcome to the Campus Recreational Department at the University of Lynchburg. We believe in a student-centered approach to recreation, making sure that all students have fun and engaging activities that promotes wellness, personal growth, and community building.
Our team works to provide a variety of recreation opportunities for all our undergrad and graduate students.
Let's take a look at the different areas of Campus Rec. Campus Recreation covers all outdoor recreation. Our team offers dozens of trips per semester, maintains recreation facilities on campus, and offers outdoor certificates and leadership training.
Intramurals is open to all students who wants to play on a team. We have men's, women's, and co-ed leagues for each sport we offer.
Those looking for next level competition can join club sports. These are student-led organizations with the support of Campus Recreation. You can join one of our established club sports, or you can start your own with our support.
Campus Recreation offers an excellent amount of opportunities to stay active, make new friends, and develop new skills. We hope to see you soon.
Want to have some outdoor adventures while getting a degree at the same time? At the University of Lynchburg, we have an on-campus zipline and ropes course. Plus, we offer adventure trips that cost less than a cup of coffee. And did I mention our beautiful scenery? We're a university for students looking for something more than just books. Welcome to your new adventure experience.
I wanted to be a physical therapist probably starting about halfway through college. I love the concept that exercise is medicine. You know, we're starting to discover that exercise really can remedy many of the things that we thought that only surgery or only drugs could remedy in the past. When the student comes here, it's because we believe in them, it's because we want them here, it's because we believe they'll be successful. The faculty here are devoted to their development, not only academically but also professionally. We're not so inundated with things that we don't have time to make students one of our highest priorities. We have your back. We're gonna help you through that. If you're willing to work, then we're willing to put the work into it and the effort to help you succeed.
Lynchburg is all about you, your ideas, and your goals. We've got one professor for every 10 students, so you can get all the support you need. In the classroom, in the lab, or in nature, you'll learn by putting yourself out there, and we're right there with you.
I was really attracted to Lynchburg primarily because my dad went here. He is an alum, so I kind of have that close tie of being interested in this school. And the school had what I wanted to study. I knew I wanted to help people in the area of health and wellness, so the health promotion program was definitely a program that drew me in, and from day one I've been in love with it, and I wouldn't have chosen any different. I have never had better professors or teachers in my life, and I think here at the University of Lynchburg,
15 minutes into the second quarter of play, Lynchburg up by half a dozen. A great first 15 minutes by Lynchburg. The Rubley brothers with half the goals today. Will with 2, Mark with 1. Brody Mason also with a pair. Hillenbrand got involved as well off a deflection off the keeper that originally left the stick of Vandenberg. 2 shots in the first 15 minutes for Averett, 23 for Lynchburg. It has certainly been an offensive showcase from the Hornets thus far. That's something we've grown accustomed to here on Schellenberger, Chris.
Yes, and I think that if I'm going to be nitpicky, probably the biggest downside of that first quarter for the Hornets was 6 for 23, not exactly where you want to be, just over 25%. You want to try to be as close to 40% on that shooting mark. And obviously, when you're up 6-0, there's only so much to be upset about. But I know that the coaching staff's going to really emphasize being good with the shot selection.
Connor Moore's feed inside, ricocheted away by a blue jersey. Now Finn Schmidt will slow it down and get the offensive personnel on as Moore and White head to the sub box. Shot well high, a good trail check to knock that one loose. A beautiful night here in the Hill City.
Yeah, it's awesome.
50 degrees, partly cloudy. Sun's slowly starting to go down as a whistle blows it dead. And Averett takes over.
And mental mistakes like that is something that Coach Kudelka is not going to be very happy with. In games like this, you're up 6-0 to start the first quarter. Really, Averett hasn't had much to be happy with because they haven't had the ball for a whole lot.
Physical ride. Finn Schmidt, the dish, the dunk. Vandenberg slots it through, his first of the evening.
And just like that, as I say, they make a mental mistake by stepping in the crease. Schmidt and Vandenberg sort of double down, have a great ride to get that goal back.
Lynchburg up by a touchdown. Vandenberg, another one of those guys that's once again started to find his stride towards the latter part of this season. It really did feel like there was some kind of switch that just flipped. Granted, this is an offense that has really started, from the beginning of the year, they have run through their midfielders.
Yeah, and I think that having the confidence out of Hastings and Schmidt to be able to beat their defender one-on-one is something that is going to be extremely important to look at for the rest of the season. And then Vandenberg is that box player. He sort of likes to work that 5x5 box in front of the net.
Yeah.
Unbelievable stick skills. Let Schmidt, let Hastings, let Russ, Holman, Boyd all feed into him. He's going to finish those. At the beginning of the year, it almost seemed like the offense was expecting him to do a little too much dodging, and that's just not really his play style.
Yeah, and I think the biggest reasons why we saw Hastings more so involved in any other attack at the beginning of the year is because of his ability to distribute. Also worth mentioning, we've got a new keeper between the pipes. We're seeing second-team guys all across the board. Eric Allen, most likely in the contest for the remainder of today, here with a nice save. But Hastings, someone that had 30 assists in both his freshman and sophomore campaign, well on his way, on pace to be one of the program leaders. On the mark for 120. That's certainly something that stands out to you. Where the record in the conference for career assists was 177 coming into this season. That's someone that we got to see in Cameraman against Roanoke, and that number has since ticked up a fair amount, right around 200 now. Right, he's got 5 years under his belt, where that COVID year no longer in existence. But we saw Hastings do a great job as a distributor and really feeding those guys, but he's not necessarily the maestro of this offense. It's the fifth-year Grant Voigt who has really been the quarterback this season, and then you have a phenomenal goal scorer and talent with Jake Rust. So it's understandable why you would want to go through your two veteran guys that are both so crucial to the offense from a scoring and distribution standpoint.
Yeah, and I think that something that we saw this a couple weeks ago against Virginia Wesleyan, looking for those depth pieces in this Lynchburg offense. You have the All-Americans with Rust, Hastings, and now you're looking for how can we continue to get guys to pitch in. Something that we saw when Lynchburg played Roanoke is that Roanoke just had those three guys, and that really was a detriment to them because they couldn't find anyone else outside of the Cameramans and Whitlow to score. And then on Wednesday night, Lynchburg really couldn't find second-line midfielders to score for them. I know we got a little help from Andrew Miller's viral goalie goal, but it's looking for those second-line midfielders, maybe that fourth or fifth attackman that can come in and add to that offensive firepower as well.
Andrew Miller, a guy that was celebrated today during Senior Day, really got going this season with the departure of the Player of the Year a season ago. So he takes big shoes to fill, and I think he's really done an excellent job. You can see that he's gotten more comfortable as the season's gone along and more confident, really is the best way to describe it. Not only on the defensive end, I mean, we've seen him make some big-time plays, 2 goals and an assist this season. He actually had a goal in his freshman year, too. He's a guy that really likes to go out and run. Allen with a nice save, but couldn't keep it in his twig. Ricochets out and help from Mahoney to start the clear.
And I think going back to it, maybe people from the outside saw Miller as sort of a question mark, having to replace a really one of the most dominant goalies in program history with Tyler Hadley.
Yeah.
But he comes in. This team believed in him. Coach Kudelka, the coaching staff, knew he was going to be someone that at the end of the day, when games mattered, he was going to get better and better as the season went on. He's going to play his best ball. He's going to save those shots in May, and that is what this coaching staff knows he's capable of.
And I think what's really stood out in this team's progression, and we've talked about how each of those ranked matchups against a top 10 team have looked closer and closer with each one as the season's gone along. I think the defense is really the biggest part of that, as Rubley finds a hat trick, his 3rd of the contest, the 4th for the Bros. But, I mean, this is an offense that you know is more than capable no matter of what defense they go up against. They've found double figures in every single one of those ranked matchups. It's not like they're getting shut down, but those top 10 teams are scoring less and less against this defense that came in this year with no starts through all their starters. And we've seen a mixed combination. We saw a really different grouping from game 1 to game 2 to game 3 in terms of those close defense long poles. And now it's not just like 3 of them have really gained confidence and experience and repetition. I mean, they really go 4, 5, maybe even 6 deep, where you have guys that now you feel comfortable out there with. I wouldn't necessarily say that any close defender right now is in the mix for an all-ODAC team. I wouldn't necessarily go that far, but you know, there's still plenty of ball left to be played. Like, we're only at the midway point, and we're starting to see really how effective these guys can be. And it all started with that Denison game.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is definitely when Lynchburg gets that momentum and sort of confidence, just as Andrew Miller's gotten confidence. This attack lineup has gained more confidence as the season goes on. It's contagious.
Yeah, it's just impressive to see that you look at the first 4 games of the season versus the most recent 4 games. This defense is night and day. And a lot of that credit goes to Ben Feintuck and what he's been able to do with this year's group when you've got to basically start from scratch. And when I say that, it makes it sound like it's all freshmen, and it's not. Obviously, you do have a freshman in that mix, but it's different when you go from a guy that's coming in a game where you're playing a Randolph or you're in the last 5 minutes of a game versus when you're now the guy that's the vocal leader alongside the keeper that is in charge. And when things go awry, it's on you. And that kind of accountability is a lot, especially in a conference like this when you're on a team where the expectation is not just to compete for a conference title or to compete for an NCAA tournament bid. That's the expectation. And the hope is that you can make it to the Sweet 16, the Elite 8, the Final Four, the national championship.
Yeah, and at the beginning of the year, Coach Kudelka a couple years ago said, what are the goals? Mm-hmm. And there had been talks of we want to win the ODAC title. We want to host the ODAC tournament on Schellenberger. And as time developed, after especially since that 2015 run about a decade ago, it has been a lot of, no, that is no longer the goal. That's the expectation.
Yeah.
Where they are expected to host. They are expected to win the ODAC title. They're expected to not just get to the NCAA tournament, but to make a run in it.
Yeah, I don't think this is a team that's grinning when they're playing W&L on the road in the ODAC title game. It doesn't seem – and that's really what that game felt like. That felt like a game that didn't determine who was going to win the conference, who was going to – I don't think anyone really cares about the regular season title. Obviously, they've added that, I think, this year or the year before. But that's something that, it's great to have, but people seem to care more about being that number 1 overall seed and having home field advantage throughout the tournament more so than anything else. And we talked about how that game really didn't tip the scales in either direction in terms of falling in the rankings, whether Lynchburg came away with that overtime victory or W&L, because those are two teams that seem so evenly matched in different ways, but very evenly matched. It feels like W&L is a team that has a stronger defense, while Lynchburg is more of an offense-oriented squad, and they really balance each other out well. I mean, I'm fingers crossed that those two are going to meet again. I'm hoping there's no upsets or anything, but, we've seen a Roanoke team that's very, very talented and can make some noise. We've seen a Hampton-Sydney team that's struggled to get past those Lynchburg and W&Ls, but certainly more than capable, especially with how young they are. That's a team that could be very different come May.
Yeah, and one thing that you see, especially in sports, is the biggest fear factor that a Lynchburg and W&L team have is that a team like Hampton-Sydney, who is so young, they don't know any different.
Yeah.
They're going to come in, if they believe, that may be the biggest fear for Lynchburg and Washington Lee to face up against. I know that you look at last year, in the regular season, Washington Lee comes away with the win here on Schellenberger. However, I know that this Lynchburg team, not to put any disrespect to Randolph-Macon, but they wanted another shot at Washington Lee. They wanted to go over to Lexington and win.
This one's through. 9th goal of the day for Lynchburg.
And that was a great shot by Caden Hinchy.
Thank you. I was trying to read the digits. I wasn't confident, so I wasn't going to speculate. Hinchy with 5 big booms. I love all the video board elements they've got going on. Every guy at the beginning of the season films their own goal celebration or when they're announcing the starting lineups. He's got the 5 big booms. Are you familiar with AJ and Big Justice?
Yeah, I'm familiar with their work, and I think that the media team here at Lynchburg does such a great job with that.
Thanks, man.
And I think that something that I always like to go back is Ryan Kenny, one of my classmates. I really put it in him that he might have been one of the first ones to really take advantage of the video board. He had the McGregor walk.
Oh, nice.
He was a pretty creative guy. He started the lawnmower one year up at the Mustang Classic. I mean, if you need to go back and watch some of his celebrations.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot of big goal celebrations on the field. It's I can't even expect to maybe see a guy, corn on the cob's a personal favorite. Rubley, his 4th. He's feeling good.
Yeah, and that's a great shot. The thing is that Averett has done a good job of giving up a lot of shots from the outside. The Lynchburg offense, we talked about earlier, they were just under 25%. Now they're inching closer to that 33% mark, and that is much better than what they had been earlier. But the shot selection, where the placement of the ball is really key. He's putting that low and away, hard for the goalie to make a save there.
Face-off won by the Hornets. Bobbled momentarily by Caramango. And able to reel it in. And I'm at the number of guys we've seen take face-offs here today. We're really starting to go deeper in the depth chart.
And I think that Wednesday night sort of exposed a little weakness in what has been, in my opinion, a hands-down All-American type season for Riley Frankel. Obviously going up against Spano from W&L, he's an All-American in himself. But Frankel, I think he took a lot of face-offs that day. He was about just under 40%, which for him I know he's going to be upset with. But looking into the numbers a little deeper, I truly think he could have honestly had a couple more there where weird bounce doesn't go quite his way. If he makes that 50-50, next time they meet, if obviously that happens, like I think every lacrosse fan wants, maybe not the Roanoke and Hampton-Sydney fans, but every outside ODAC fan is going to want that matchup again. And if he can get to that 50-50 mark, it's going to be really helpful for this Lynchburg offense that has started to click more and more as the season's gone on.
Flag flies. Devin Perry likely going to be tabbed with a trip here. First man up, man down situation of the day. I think you're exactly right when you talk about the storyline with face-offs, both in that game and this season, because it feels like in a lot of games, Lynchburg has had a significant edge with Frankel at the center circle, especially since conference play. And games that are so tight, that can really be the differentiator. And what really comes to mind is that Roanoke game.
Yeah, it started to be make it take it because of Frankel.
And that's how Lynchburg goes on a 5 goals unanswered run in the middle of the fourth quarter. And you just keep getting it back, and you hold on to that momentum in a game where everybody was scoring. I mean, it didn't feel like there was a whole lot of defense in it. Like every time somebody touched the ball on an offensive possession, they were getting a goal, and it was the highest scoring game in the conference we've seen this season. So when you take that away in a night where Frankel really just – they had his number, it felt like, and those are – guys that are quite familiar with one another. Goal scored, flags come out late. It's likely going to be a late hit on Averett. We'll await the penalty and see if the goal stands. I got a feeling it does. No! Waved off.
And so they're going to say that he got pushed, landed in the crease before the ball went in, and I think Charlie Evans, it was a great move to sort of get that inside leverage, but now 2 men up, it's going to be for the Hornets. It's going to be an opportunity for them to really showcase maybe something new in the man-up opportunity. Something that you don't always get is a 2-man-up opportunity, and you're going to see what they're able to do here.
They've got 5 guys on the field now.
Was that other one released?
I'd assume so.
Oh, my fault.
No, I mean, I was on the same page as you. I thought it was going to be 2-man up. So instead, 5-on-6 with a minute. Play down to X. Rubley, pass up top, step down, runs wide.
And it's nice seeing sort of a different group on this man up. You have Evans, who's normally in that lefty spot.
Brody Mason, a laser.
But just showing, like I said, guys who can fill into that spot. You never know when a injury may happen later. Someone like Brody Mason, say he can step in. That looks almost Jake Rusk-esque.
Yeah, and when we came into this game and we're talking about guys that have an opportunity to really impress and show what they can bring, not just today, but when you've got a Roanoke, a W&L in ODAC postseason, where you need to rely a little bit more on depth, especially, God forbid, somebody goes down. You really want to know what you have in your bag. And Brody Mason and Will Rubley are certainly 2 younger guys that not only can have a big impact later in their career, but this season. I mean, Brody Mason is one of the biggest, strongest guys on this team that doesn't necessarily play like it. And that's something that this coaching staff has expressed they want to see out of him. And Rubley, just a guy that's new to the block. We talked about his numbers through the last 4 games. He's taken significant strides.
Yeah, and I think something that you see is January, February of a lacrosse season, they still are freshmen, younger guys who maybe haven't been in that situation. But once it comes to May, you're pretty much – that's a whole school year that's gone by, another full year in the program. For Rubley, it's his first full year. He's got to be more like a sophomore in that aspect. And Mason, he's now sort of an upperclassman in that sense where he's been in the program for 2 full years there.
Shot up top. Hornets there to back it up.
And here with short time, just under a minute, Lynchburg's going to look to hopefully hold on to this ball. Their shot clock's not going to be an issue here, and they're going to be able to maybe run a set play here, who knows, or just really focus in on their zone offense.
Good ball movement by Lynchburg, sidearm well high. 32 seconds left to go here in the first half.
And this is a great job by the Averett defense here, really sort of getting on the hands of the Lynchburg shooters while they're taking shots.
Just over 20 seconds left to be played. Underneath to X. Can't connect, off the mark with 12 seconds to go. And interesting to see Averett now out in his zone.
Yeah, and something that Lynchburg did struggle with the other day, seeing if they can capitalize on that.
Well, that's a good design right there, and a little bit of a drive and kick. Doesn't work the way they'd like to. 5.3, gotta go quick. Up top, can't connect. And this one will burn out. Time expires, zeros on the board. Lynchburg with 11 in the first half. The Cougars head to the intermission trailing. Oh, step aside. Final 30 coming up on LHSN.
Welcome to the Campus Recreational Department at the University of Lynchburg. We believe in a student-centered approach to recreation, making sure that all students have fun and engaging activities that promotes wellness, personal growth, and community building.
Our team works to provide a variety of recreation opportunities for all our undergrad and graduate students.
Let's take a look at the different areas of Campus Rec.
Campus Recreation covers all outdoor recreation. Our team offers dozens of trips per semester, maintains recreation facilities on campus, and offers outdoor certificates and leadership training.
Intramurals is open to all students who wants to play on a team. We have men's, women's, and co-ed leagues for each sport we offer.
Those looking for next level competition can join club sports. These are student-led organizations with the support of Campus Recreation. You can join one of our established club sports, or you can start your own with our support.
Campus Recreation offers an excellent amount of opportunities to stay active, make new friends, and develop new skills. We hope to see you soon.
Want to have some outdoor adventures while getting a degree at the same time? At the University of Lynchburg, we have an on-campus zipline and road course. Plus, we offer adventure trips that cost less than a cup of coffee. And did I mention our beautiful scenery? We're a university for students looking for something more than just books. Welcome to your new adventure experience.
I wanted to be a physical therapist probably starting about halfway through college. I love the concept that exercise is medicine. You know, we're starting to discover that exercise really can remedy many of the things that we thought that only surgery or only drugs could remedy in the past. When the student comes here, it's because we believe in them, it's because we want them here. It's because we believe they'll be successful. The faculty here are devoted to their development, not only academically but also professionally. We're not so inundated with things that we don't have time to make students one of our highest priorities. We have your back. We're gonna help you through that. If you're willing to work, then we're willing to put the work into it and the effort to help you succeed.
Lynchburg is all about you, your ideas, and your goals. We've got one professor for every 10 students, so you can get all the support you need. In the classroom, in the lab, or in nature. You'll learn by putting yourself out there, and we're right there with you.
I was really attracted to Lynchburg primarily because my dad went here. He is an alum, so I kind of have that close tie of being interested in this school, and the school had what I wanted to study. I knew I wanted to help people in the area of health and wellness, so the health promotion program was definitely a program that drew me in, and from day one I've been in love with it, and I wouldn't have chosen any different. I have never had better professors or teachers in my life, and I think here at the University of Lynchburg, the professors definitely care about their students, especially in the health promotion department. These professors want you to be educated, want you to have the experience, and just want you to feel confident going into your career path following your collegiate education. You just feel like you're cared for here and that you matter, and that no matter what, at the end of the day, you're going to be successful, and the people here really want to be here, and everyone has a purpose, and it's just a great environment to be in.
Be ready for anything, okay?
Come on, let's go together. Together, let's go. Come on. Let's go, keep going.
There is the death trip. Straight? Yeah, yep. Okay. Cool. Good one. All right, guys, you see the meat grinder down here? Stay in the boat. Let's go. Oh, what'd you think of that? Woo!
Get your career in the game by enrolling in the University of Lynchburg MBA program with an emphasis in sport management. This program opens the doors to new possibilities for a variety of careers, from being an athletic director or working in athletic administration to working for professional organizations, your favorite team, to running a local Parks and Rec department. And employers are increasingly requesting and preferring individuals who have postgraduate education, specifically looking for an MBA. And so the University of Lynchburg Sport Management concentration in the MBA program sets you up for success, and it sets you apart from the many other people looking for jobs in the industry. Learn from winners. Here you will learn from professors and mentors who have spent their careers doing exactly what you want to do. Increase your marketability in an $83 billion industry. If you have a 3.0 GPA, the GMAT is waived. There's no application fee, admissions occurs on a rolling basis, and our online program is ideal for working adults. When you enroll in this program, you enroll in the opportunity to learn from the best of the best. Your professors have a wealth of experience working in the sport industry that they share with you in the classroom setting. Get in the game by getting your MBA with a sport management concentration at the University of Lynchburg. Just you know, Hollywood, here I come. Hey, I meant, yeah.
Either. The real Lindsay Piper's here.
Autographs there later. Let's.
Saturday under the lights here on Schellenberger Field. It's the Hornets up by 11 through one half. The Cougars still being shut out, a goose egg on the board. A lot of great lacrosse all through the ODAC tonight. Hampton Sydney and Roanoke really the one that's got a whole lot of eyes on it, Chris.
Yeah, and it looks like it's about an 8-7 game right now, headed into halftime. I mean, that's definitely a big one to watch because with Roanoke losing to Lynchburg, Hampton Sydney also losing to Lynchburg, you're looking at who's really going to battle for that 3-4 spot, and potentially if everything plays out the way it should, WNL 1, Lynchburg 2, and then this is really the game for 3 on who has to go to Lexington for the semifinal and who has to come to the Hill City for the other semi.
And I think both WNL and Lynchburg would much rather play Hampton Sydney.
Yeah, I mean, given what it looked like when Lynchburg took on both those teams, but like we were talking about earlier, Hampton Sydney, very young team, 31 newcomers. Who knows, maybe in May they catch fire and go from there, but I would personally agree, having to go against the Cameramans, a team that put up 18 goals on a Lynchburg defense that had been playing so well up to that point, is something that not necessarily what you want to see, but in 2022, Hampton Sydney upsetted WNL in Lexington in the semifinal, and that is something that maybe you start to look at again.
Yeah, without a doubt. Brody Mason already with a couple tonight, greasing the pipes.
And it really looked like he was trying to settle it down, but no one came out to him, so he was able to really step in, take that shot, and put it in a great spot. But to sort of go on what we were talking about with Eisenhower at the beginning of the game, he's a very good goalie, almost top 5 in the conference in save percentage. He's someone who at halftime was 50%, and normally when your goalie's at 50%, you like your odds. Unfortunately for him, he's just been absolutely peppered, and the face-off circle has not been Averett's friend tonight.
Chris, in this second half, what are you looking out for the most to see from both of these sides?
I think if you are the Averett coaching staff, you're looking at a defense that how can we start to limit the Lynchburg offense? They start to throw that zone defense in a little bit, see if it could slow down the Lynchburg offense, a team that is very high scoring, and see if that can sort of slow things down. But then if you're Lynchburg, it's continuing to execute at a very high level, and that isn't just stick skills with passing and everything, is also the communication factor, both on offense and defense, and seeing how you can go from there.
Yeah, I think that's well said. And Carter Bez rudely interrupts you with his first goal tonight. Lynchburg up by 13, led by 11 at the intermission.
And it's great seeing Carter Baz, a guy who's played in some big-time games against Salisbury, against WNL, get on the score sheet on senior night.
You know, and there's a lot of things you can say about Carter Bez, but one thing you just have to acknowledge is the lettuce. Something that's so important in not only the game but the culture of lacrosse. And that really brings something to a locker room and to a team.
Yeah, and I think he takes some pride in how well the lettuce looks.
Yeah, Jake Rust, another guy that's.
Jake has gone through some very different haircuts through his time. Obviously, being a fifth year, he has a little bit more time, but he's gone through a couple of phases, you could say. But no one really has like the true like old-fashioned lacrosse long hair since really Kevin Rogers back in that 2020 season.
It's actually so funny. I was going through the Roanoke website before we played the Maroons here at home, and they had Quinn Evans, their fifth-year midfielder, had a phenomenal mustache. I believe it's called a Fu Manchu. It's similar to a handlebar. And on their website, it showed you their headshot through their duration of time playing, and you could just see not only the stash but the hair develop through his 5 years. That's something we might need to look into.
Yeah, that would definitely be a good thing to see how some of the alumni and these current players have developed. I mean, some of these kids, 17, 18 years old, when they step on campus, and with a Lynchburg program that's had a lot of fifth years stick around, they're 23 years old when they step out of this place. And I think that's definitely over that 5-year period how much some of these guys develop with their facial hair and the lettuce, as well as in the weight room. Someone that comes to mind, Colin Dean, who was class of 20, stuck around for his fifth year in 21. He was someone, he came in, he was about 5'9", 5'10", did not weigh a whole lot, maybe 135, 40 pounds, soaking wet. And by the time he left here, he was an absolute animal in the weight room and was 185, and someone that I would take over pretty much anyone because he just dominated down in weight.
Yeah, just while we're on it, you know, really what Ed Smith and company do in the weight room here at Lynchburg really is phenomenal. It's something that we got the chance to talk a whole lot about during basketball season with the development of strength and conditioning that we've seen from a lot of their upperclassmen like Mason Makovic and Jonathan Faust. And they have some slimmer guys that they're actively trying to build up. But you certainly see that with the lacrosse program as well. As here's a chance. Underhand shot. Rolls right past Eisenhower.
A nice little warm burner from Carter Bez there.
Bez strikes gold twice in a matter of minutes. Lynchburg now up by 14. I'm obviously new to town. You've got a lot more experience than I do with this program as a whole. Are there any postseason rituals with the hair? I've seen a lot of schools that they do the shaven heads, they dye it.
Yeah, I think every year you'll start to see a couple different unique haircuts. I know sometimes the seniors will stray away from those haircuts given that graduation being in May,
I think
postseason's in May, and a lot of times mom's in your ear saying,
Mom's not gonna be
you're
happy.
not going to have a haircut that looks terrible for graduation pictures. But something that you'll see, like there's been guys who've done the Avatar arrow.
Oh, wow.
Some people who've done.
That's unique.
Yeah, some real good stuff. One that comes to my mind is Cole Nestor did half red, half black for his hair one year.
Wow.
And so just a lot of different things that this Lynchburg team does.
The Hornets tack on another here in the third quarter, pardon me. They're third of the frame.
And to sort of go back on that, it's just like how close this Lynchburg lacrosse team is. It's really a family. There was, back in 2019, Billy, Coach Kudelka's son, he came in, saw all the guys doing mullets. He wanted part of the action. Now, you talk about a guy who's just developed in the weight room. He's 6'8", 6'9", DN for UVA's football team. Had a great spring practice
today,
slate.
right?
Yeah, I think it was. So he's just been dominating it up there, and he's always around. He was in Lexington for the Washington Lee game. He's been to a handful of games this year, and obviously with Charlottesville being just an hour up the road, but still something that Coach Kudelka really preaches on is how close this brotherhood and this family atmosphere is with Lynchburg Lacrosse, and it's something that's really cool to see. It's like once one guy buys in, everyone's all on board, and something that Coach Kudelka really preaches is that dive into the deep end instead of just walk through the shallow end. And I think that is something that has helped make this team have, since 2002, have 10 ODAC titles.
Hornets with possession. Just under 9 minutes to go.
That was a great move by Rubley there. He just able to spin, get to his left hand. Good shot, just a little bit off the mark there. And
Bouncer.
A little
This one's
senior connection there.
Off the deck and in. You know, if we're talking about family members that are athletes on this coaching staff, Prince Charles, he's actually got a younger brother that's a UFC fighter.
Yeah, and I mean, I know Prince isn't in the UFC, but
No.
he's got some pretty good athletic traits himself. Back when I played against him in college,
How about that?
he was definitely someone that you just always sort of smiled when you saw him on the field. He played the game with so much passion.
I was told we need to mic him up because he exhales a lot like a boxer. I hate to do this on air, but he'll pass you in the hall and hit you with a 1-2 with a So he's certainly been in the weight room or in the ring with his younger brother. I'm sure he's got him holding pads for him. You ever done anything like that?
No, probably the hardest thing that I've done, honestly, is spin class Friday that you sort of bailed on, but
all right.
With the field hockey team and Coach Relaford invited us out, and I was able to get there, but you and Eli decided to abandon ship. Obviously, with the track meet, I know you guys had a lot going on, so I'll give you a hall pass, but I gotta give you guys a lot of credit that next time I know you'll be there.
Yeah, I'll be there in 2 weeks. Got it marked on the Google Calendar. Don't get it twisted. I could not make it to spin class this week, unfortunately. But don't worry. Give me a month, and I'll be teaching that class.
I don't know about that. The choreography doesn't seem right up your alley.
Choreography?
Yeah.
I know that you were born in the town of Footloose. I know you can't dance, but I can boogie. Back up top to the center of the box. Lynchburg moving it around. Right arm shot, no good. Eisenhower tabs another save to his nightly total. Lynchburg up to 60 shots. Just over midway through the third quarter. Once again, a tightly contested ride from the Hornets. They've been all over them like bark on a tree. And another turnover. Here comes Ethan Carr. He's kind of like a freight train. Once Ethan Carr gets rolling, he's a tough guy to stop. And you really see that from a lot of the guys in this short stick defensive midi unit. And guys like Carr and Seeley, Quincy White as well, can really be dangerous players in transition. They love to go north-south right at the cage.
Yeah, and I think that's something to go on what Coach Smith's really been able to develop down in Wake in the weight room. A lot of guys that maybe when they come in aren't the fastest or strongest, developed as he goes right down Main Street.
Oh, my goodness, what a move. A double cross. Finds on the doorstep. An excellent sequence from Hillenbrand, the sophomore out of Rocky River, Ohio. Rocky River, I like that.
Good alliteration.
You ever been to Ohio before?
I have. Over to Columbus. I know you're not too fond of Ohio State.
I am not. That's the only place in Ohio I've been, unfortunately. Not unfortunately, it's the only place in Ohio, just that I had to go to Ohio.
One of my good friends, he is actually from Columbus.
Oh.
And I know that this Lynchburg team has had several people come from the Buckeye State. And don't worry, when he was here, I made sure that he knew Florida was better.
I am
Virginia's
not a fan.
better.
Not a fan
a lot
of
of
Ohio
states
State.
better than Ohio.
Yeah, I just don't like those guys in the horseshoe. It is not a program that I am quite fond of as a man from Big Ten country. Nevertheless, all about the red and the ODAC, and Lynchburg has dominated tonight in their red and whites. Brody Mason, a guy that's been heavily involved this evening. Will Rubley as well. We've seen Bez get involved here in the third quarter quite often. Charlie Evans as well. A whistle on Lynchburg and another Hornet turnover. Haven't seen too many of those tonight. Played back to the sideline, and a miscommunication right there from D'Amico to Coleman. Coleman was headed for the sideline, checking out, dished it over to D'Amico, and just like that, the Cougars give it right back. Good movement. Step down, hesitation. They play it back around. Evans to Mason. Wide open. And the Hornets with another stinger. That's really excellent movement and finding the weak spot in the defense by Brody Mason.
Yeah, and something that first half 11 goals, now really able to get 7 here in the third quarter. Much better shooting percentage and just honestly much better ball movement. But something to really keep your eye on was Brody's feet are moving within the play as it develops. He's continuing to move so that way he can score, find that opening, and finish in tight.
4:34 to go here in the third quarter. We'll step aside. Lynchburg up by 18 on Schellenberger. Back at the center circle. Lynchburg with another face-off win. Pair of substitutions on both sides of the field for the Hornets. We'll see what this offense can do here with just over 4 to go. And there's another one. This time it's number 39, Mark Rubley, his second of the evening. How about the Rubley brothers? Putting on a show tonight, Chris.
Having themselves a great day, for sure.
I'm sure Mom and Dad are going to be happy. when you got the two kids combining for 5.
Not a bad night.
Not a bad night at all. Early movement. False start by Lynchburg. And a big round of applause from the Averett sideline. I will say I'm a big fan of the Averett uniforms. I really like the domes.
Yeah, and I think that they look good, but this is a team that's still not quitting. No one's hanging their heads on the sideline. And I think that's something really good to see, is that obviously with a young team, they know that there's going to be growing pains, and how are they going to be able to learn from this?
And despite a strong performance tonight by Eisenhower, we now have a change between the pipes for Averett. In goal is Cameron Prutzman. Prutzman, a junior goalkeeper out of Montgomery, New York. You know, they got great lacrosse up there in New York. I think it's one of the most slept-on areas for lacrosse. That and Texas.
I mean, yeah, you've got some great athletes. When you start pulling away those kids, and especially like the Dallas area, who've grown up where football is everything that they know, and you put the lacrosse stick in their hand, and they're able to just really develop as athletes, but also as lacrosse players, you're going to get guys who can fly up and down the field, and when they have the stick skills to match it, they're going to become some of the best players in the country.
Yeah, it really has been cool to see how the game of lacrosse has grown really in the last decade especially. Obviously, things got rolling right around 2001 with the introduction of the MLL. Great deflection right there, but still physical contact. Two guys tangled up. Now some pushing and some shoving. Really led by the long pole as 88. I do not have an 88 listed on the roster, so I don't have a name for you, unfortunately. Drive inside. Shot goes too far to the right by Hillenbrand. Nevertheless, I mean, since that 2001 debut of the MLL, you started to see the ball get rolling. And in the last, I believe, 5 years with the PLL started by Paul Rabel, I love the product that they put on with the touring style, with just clubs rather than selective cities, which did a great job of just expanding and really just giving the sport a lot of exposure.
Yeah, and I think something that you can really take away from that is that few people really remember what the MLX tour was, sort of that traveling style that competed with the MLL but never really had the support that the PLL has grown to have.
Yeah.
And it was just two teams that went to different cities, all of that, but it's something that Paul and his brother Mike, who co-founded the league, has done a great job, is that they are using that traveling area, but also sort of giving fans an option to sort of attach themselves like the Maryland Whip Snakes. So you still have that identity of like, this is my hometown team, but you don't always have them in Maryland every single week like an NFL team like the Baltimore Ravens.
Do you have a team?
I've always been an Archers fan because Marcus Holman was one of my favorite guys growing up. Just loved how he was a righty shooter. I tried to develop myself like him. He did not. I did not meet those expectations, as I'm sure you can tell. But someone that I really inspired to be like, overhand release, something that I think most goalies can probably agree. Someone like Tyler Hadley, who I went up with in practice quite often, he always told me that he didn't really enjoy when I shot because I was able to shoot pretty hard, and he was like, I didn't always necessarily know where it was going, so he never liked getting hit by my shots.
But I think that's important to have guys in the sport as a younger fan and a younger player to really look up to. And I think it's great that now you have a different avenue than the college game. And don't get me wrong, I still think college lacrosse, especially at the Division I level, is king. But I think you just have more of a great product, ranging from all the way to NIAI, to Division III to PLL now. It is great to see. And also the championship series that they've started to implement that'll be in the Olympics. I think that's got a lot of people excited. And that's a much quicker style of lacrosse, no long poles.
Yeah, that 6v6 type was debuted in a world championship format a couple years ago down in Alabama. And something that the best part about it is that you can see a lot of different teams and countries sort of be successful, because traditionally it's Canada and U.S. that dominate.
Yeah.
But now teams like Japan, Australia, you have 6 to 8 guys that are really good players. You don't need to fill out 15 to 20 like the traditional field style is.
Yeah, I like what you said about Australia. This time from down under, it's Henry Fowler with the wraparound from X. You like that?
That's great. That's why you're the best.
Lynchburg with a face-off win as time expires. The Hornets up by 20. Still holding on to a shutout here on Schellenberger Field. 15 minutes left to be played here in the Hill City.
Think a private education is too expensive? Think again. At the University of Lynchburg, you can get a personalized education for the cost of a state school. If you're commuting and you get our top scholarships, you could pay much less. And you get all that without the hassle of giant lecture halls. Our faculty know your name here and do more than just teach. You might even do research together and plan out your next career moves.
Lynchburg up by 20 here with 15 to go. Hornets start the frame with a face-off victory. Yeah, I'll tell you, Chris, I'm a big fan of these games under the lights. Beginning of the year, we had all middle of the day, early afternoon affairs. I think this is the third game we've had under the lights on Schellenberger this season.
Yep.
It's a great atmosphere.
Yeah, and I think that, especially when it's big-time games.
Will Rubley make you 5. A handful tonight.
Great job by Rubley. Just continue to follow through with the cut, catch it on the run, and finish, going high to low. Great job there. Able to put in his 5th.
And great patience right there as he works around to find the opening. You know what they say, Chris? Slow motion's better than no motion. I got to give props. I got that line earlier this week from our director, Josh Smith. So I gotta give him his credit. In transition, bounce shot over the top. Andrew Miller and company on the sideline go ballistic.
And it definitely looks like Thomas D'Souza really wants one. I think that's his second or third shot of the afternoon or night. I think something that you can really take away is that with these guys who don't necessarily get as much playing time as a Jake Russ, Riley Hastings, Andrew Miller, is that those are the guys on the sideline that are being as supportive as others when the roles are reversed. And I think that is a team culture that is extremely important to see and something that they're going to have to use to build off of. And like this senior class, they've done a lot of winning in their time. to date, they have 52 wins over their time at Lynchburg, and I think something 3-3 in the NCAA tournament, 2 ODAC titles, a quarterfinal appearance is definitely nothing to be shy of. And then guys like Jake Russ and Grant Voigt add on another 18 wins from their freshman year, a quarterfinal appearance there, another ODAC tournament, and 2 more NCAA tournament wins there.
Look at you doing the homework. I love it, Chris. Had that one ready. 21. Lynchburg with 71 shots tonight, while they've held Averett to 6. 72 goes wide. The program record is 87 shots in a game. Chris, records were made to be broken, even if they're yours. Chris was a part of that roster that had 87 shots. What team was that against?
Virginia Wesleyan, 2019. In a celebration of the 40th anniversary of this men's program.
How about that? Seems like the right time to have a good day. And senior day, certainly not a bad day to do it as well. Especially with what this class has given to the Hornets, those fifth years included, with Rust and Voigt. And they actually walked out together today, which I really liked. Rust's parents couldn't make the trek down here, unfortunately. And I think seeing those two walk together really spoke volumes about the program and those two with their connection. You know, because a lot of times when you go around the block one more year, you're not going to have all those same buddies that you've been in the trenches with since your freshman campaign. And those two have been side by side, same position for so many years with so many highs and lows together. So it's cool to see those two, you know, side by side, holding hands together when they're both being recognized for what they've given to this program. Because it's hard to say Jake Rust without saying Grant Voigt in the same sentence.
And I think something that just how much they've given is someone like Grant Voigt, you could put him down in attack. He's played offensive midfield, sort of been that quarterback this year. Yeah. He's also has, in years previous, gone to the defensive side of the ball for a couple games, knowing that, hey, the defense needs a little help. I'll step up. I'm a great athlete. I'll go out there and do whatever the team needs. Jake Russ, as a freshman, comes in big-time games like the ODAC championship to replace a hurt Trammell Robinson at the time, who was an All-American in himself, and just what they put in is really what they've gotten out. And I think that you ask any alumni, myself included, that you know their names, but they're better people, and like just because they're a good lacrosse player doesn't mean a whole lot. It's what they've given to the program is so much more than what's been put on the field, all the goals that they've scored, all the assists, etc.
That's what's so great about collegiate sports, is it's not always just about the athletics. You got to remember they're student athletes, which, you know, in this day and age when you've got quarterbacks demanding $4 million, I mean, it really does, I think, put an extra element on the Division III level that does still feel like that traditional amateur status, where it's not all about the glory and the paycheck and the endorsement deals. It's about the community. It's about the education. It's about the molding of men. As this shot finds the back of the cage once again, it's Hillenbrand. That's his hat trick. Handful of Hornets with a triple today.
And like you were talking about, I think it's just the love of the game that really gets them going, and they really want to be excited because they're not being paid to be out there. That's always been the Division III models. You're here because you want to play the sport while getting a great education.
Yeah, I just think it's so great that still exists in the NCAA, because that amateur status is something of the past now at that Division I level. But I mean, it's not like I'm knocking that. Like, I think it's, you know, if schools are making $100 million on their athletes, and everybody's getting paid except for them. I think it's fair to give power to the players and give everybody a piece of the pie that earns it. Granted, $4 million, that's a lot of cheddar for a 19-year-old. I don't even know what I'd do with $4 million. I'll invest it, but I'd buy like Blockbuster or something and probably mess it up. Wrap around, ball got jarred free. Rubley, spin cycle, played back out. Sweeping across the top of the box and went into a blue jersey, and he's down hard. Wind knocked out of him. He seems to be all right, got back to his feet pretty quick. That's the defenseman, Devin Perry, who's now jogging to the sideline. Lynchburg with 6 goals in the first, 5 in the second, 9 in the third. 2 here in the final frame. Brody Mason with 5 goals. Will Rubley with 5 goals. Hillenbrand with 3. Those are 3 Hornets with a Hattie. On the cusp, you got Charlie Evans, Bez, and Rubley all with 2. Henchy with 1, also leading the team in assists with 2, tied with Matty Petrone and Van Tengway. Great burnout right there by big number 30. That's Hank Alessandro. But the Hornets were offsides.
And something that the coaching staff for Lynchburg is going to want here, and probably with Averett as well, is how disciplined and sticking to the fundamentals they can be here for the last 8 minutes and 50 seconds. Is if you can take control, do all the things right, stay on sides, catch and pass, and make sure that you're really fine-tuning stuff so that this last couple weeks of the season you can continue to grow and get better. It all is right here, because if you start to let up, then that will transition and carry over into other games later on in the year as well.
What does kind of stand out, there has been 11 Lynchburg turnovers today. At right around where their season average is. As a coach, you'd love to have that number be as low as possible. Perfect save percentage for the Hornets, however, with 2 different goalies in between. And I got to watch my mouth. That, ladies and gentlemen, is textbook announcer's jinx.
But definitely a great shot by Averett there.
I've never had it be that timed up. I mean, that is unbelievable.
I didn't want to say anything on air, but as you were saying it, he was starting to get top side, and I was like, Joe, don't let this happen.
I apologize. It's Emmett Wood, the junior attackman, that makes me eat my words. It's 22-1. The Cougars avoid the shutout, which would have been Lynchburg's only shutout of the season. And that's not something you see quite often in lacrosse. Flag comes down. Hornet on the deck. This one will be awarded to Casey Peterson. 30-second penalty.
Yeah, and I think that Fowler was able to just get in front of him, and Casey just gave him a little bit too much of a shove right to the back. And unfortunately, Fowler falls over. Now it's a man-up opportunity for the Hornets. See what they'll do here with a 21-goal lead and able to get a full shot clock reset.
Step down, sidearm, string music. Alex Morton, the freshman out of Shelbyville, Tennessee. His first one tonight.
In games like this, it's really great to see, Joe, that some of these guys are able to get points in their first time as a collegiate lacrosse player, and just sort of seeing how they can continue to develop. Some of these guys that have started for this Lynchburg defense, these were the games that they started in, and now they've transitioned into those starting roles, such as like a Sam Steele, Connor Harlacher, etc. And how is this Lynchburg team going to continue to improve as the season goes on?
Lynchburg with 77 shots tonight. All sevens in that category, just 7 for the Cougars. Played to near side GLE, taken to X. Field reversed. Patient offense from the Hornets. Now they want to go. The shot is through. This time it's Maddie Patron. That might be the spiciest shot of Patron we've seen in a long time. Sorry, man. Sorry, I had to. I had to at some point. Patron with a pair of assists tonight. Now adds a goal to his total. Yeah, I might need to go back to the working shop with that one. There's something there.
Great job by Thomas D'Souza catching the ball, but understanding he doesn't have a great angle there and pulling it out so that way he can keep the offensive possession alive. However, turnover by the Hornets. And something that you talked about earlier, 11 turnovers, something that the coaching staff's not going to be real pleased with, and it's a lot of careless turnovers too on top of it.
Lynchburg now to a dozen turnovers today. Five seconds to get across midfield. A heave and a good find. But another turnover, up to 30 now for Averett.
And Joe, as this game sort of comes to an end, just over 5 minutes left, 4 games left in the regular season. What are you looking for out of this Lynchburg team to continue to grow and get better as they make that ODAC tournament push as well as the NCAA tournament push?
I think the biggest thing on the offensive end would be quick passing and off-ball movement. That is something that Lynchburg hasn't necessarily made most of their money with on the offensive side. Majority of their goals this season have either come isolation dodges or in transition. And I think if that's one thing that you can really tighten up, because I'm not going to act like it isn't there. That's just probably the one thing that you could improve upon and make yourself even more dangerous. That's something that Roanoke does exceptionally well. One of, if not the best teams in the country at that. That's a squad that leads the nation in assists, and it really shows in their game style. When assist is a statistic that doesn't necessarily always tell the whole story, but in that case it's true. I think on the defensive end, the biggest thing from game one to where we sit now has been eliminating top-side sweeping shots, and that's something that has certainly gotten a whole lot better, but can definitely still improve when you force guys down the alley. That and also rotating on the crease. But all in all, I mean, tonight it's certainly a tough night to nitpick.
Yeah, and like you said, a lot of really good things that have come out of tonight's game. 24 goals, 1 goal allowed. You can't be too upset with that if you're the Lynchburg coaching staff after sort of a disappointing loss on Wednesday night over across the mountain in Lexington.
And I think tonight was just a bad night to be Averett. In all honesty, you have a Lynchburg team that comes in just playing angry. They add another one on, 25-1. This is a team that, they wanted to send a message, not to the conference, not to Averett, not to WNL, but to themselves. They could come back and respond. And I think it's good to see that you can get right back on the horse and not be unfazed, and really just dominate in all aspects of the game. As Van Tagway, the freshman out of Salisbury, brings in another goal for Lynchburg. I will say, Chris, just over 3.5 to go. We're 7 away from tying the program record in shots. I don't think anyone on the field is even thinking about it. It is only coming from the press box.
You're probably right there.
I don't think anybody's saying – I don't think Kudelka's saying, guys, let's get 8 more shots up.
No, I'd have to agree with that.
But it might happen.
It could, but I think he's looking at controlling the ball here, settling it down, understanding that there is, when it's a 24-goal game, not running the score up and scoring 30-plus goals here.
Yeah. It's been a great 4 quarters for the Hornets. They got off to a relatively slow start, just in terms of how their shot percentage looked. Since then, I mean, they have been very efficient. When that shot number is so high, it really jumps out at you. But this has been an offense that has played with a lot of patience here in the second half, especially here in the fourth quarter. This possession, no exception, with 14 on the shot clock. Patron with a handle. Plays near side for Fowler. 4 on the shot clock. He's just going to roll this one to the crease, or to the sideline, rather. Chris, I think your record will stay intact. Congratulations.
Well, it's not just me. Easy there.
Yeah, if you had all 87 shots, I mean, that would have been a tight ball game.
Wow. My shooting percentage was actually pretty good in college. Thank you very much.
I believe you, man. Another Averett turnover.
But something that you can see here is that you still see Coach Kudelka coaching these guys all the way to this last second.
He's still got that notepad in his waistband. That's his signature look.
The laminated paper has the scouting report, depth charts, all of that on there.
That's one way to stop the opponents from looking at it. You got to, I mean, it's interesting to see how different coaches like to use the play sheets and the scouting reports.
Yeah, and another staple of Coach Kudelka is the turtleneck, black,
oh, really? I didn't
black crew neck, khaki pants. I mean, there's been times where we played and it felt like 100 degrees. That's what he's wearing. There's also been times where it's been single digits. Same exact outfit. White high socks. So just
consistency is key.
Yep.
Tonight the Hornets have been extremely consistent. Let's take a look at their schedule that they've got on deck after this affair. Lynchburg on the road for their next 2 ball games. They'll play at Shenandoah and at Bridgewater, then come back home for their final game on Shelley in the regular season against Randolph. And then you close things out on the road in Ashland, taking on the Yellow Jackets. I mean, is there one in particular in that next series of 4 that you're particularly excited for?
It's always nice to have that Randolph game. Coach Sinclair being a Lynchburg Lacrosse alum, I think that's always one to sort of circle. That's also going to be the faculty night here on Schellenberger.
Very nice.
But I honestly, last time this Lynchburg team went over to Ashland, they lost. And I promise you that Coach Kudelka has not forgotten that. And so I think that will definitely be one to circle, especially going into the ODAC tournament. What type of momentum do you have? And at that point, is it, if you feel confident in that, rest versus rust? What is going to be the case there? Hoping that they have a first-round bye in the ODAC tournament if everything plays according to key. And so that is something that's going to be super important to see.
Well, tonight certainly was on key for Lynchburg. A dominant victory here at home as they take down the Averett Cougars 25-1. That's all we've got. We appreciate you spending your Saturday night with us. A big thank you to our production crew of Grayson, Josh, Jonathan, and from Chris and myself. Till next time, thank you and have a good one.